Every morning, 200 million Americans brush their teeth with products that contain literal poison. In 2025, the FDA pulled nearly 5 million tubes of toothpaste from shelves. And what they found will make you question everything in your bathroom cabinet. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to expose the shocking truth about America's most trusted toothpaste brands, reveal the toxic chemicals they're hiding, and show you exactly how to protect yourself and your family from becoming their next victims. Welcome to Crisis Horizon, where we uncover the hidden dangers threatening your everyday life. If you're ready to learn what Big Toothpaste doesn't want you to know, hit that like button and subscribe for more eye-opening investigations. Picture this. You wake up, stumble to the bathroom, and reach for that familiar tube of toothpaste. Maybe it's Crest, Colgate, or Sensodyne, brands you've trusted your entire life. You squeeze a small amount onto your brush, thinking you're doing something good for your health. But what if I told you that simple morning routine could be slowly poisoning you and your family? In August 2025, the FDA announced a recall that should have made front-page news everywhere. Nearly 47,000 tubes of Sensodyne Pro Amyl Active Shield Fresh Mint were pulled from shelves. The official reason? The box said one flavor, but the tube contained another. Sounds harmless enough, right? Just a simple labeling error. But here's what they didn't tell you. This wasn't just about wrong labels. This was the second major recall for Sensodyne in a single year. Just months earlier, their parent company, Haleon, was forced to recall over 4.5 million tubes across multiple brands due to what the FDA called serious manufacturing violations. Now, Haleon isn't some small startup operating out of someone's garage. This is a massive conglomerate formed from the consummate health divisions of pharmaceutical giants Pfizer, Novartis, and GSK. They own household names like Advil, Theraflu, and Tums. If a company with billions in revenue and decades of experience can't manage basic quality control for toothpaste, what does that say about everything else they're producing? The FDA's response was typical corporate speak, not likely to cause harm. But think about what that really means. They're essentially saying, we caught them cutting corners twice in 1 year, but hey, you'll probably be fine. Would you get on an airplane if the airline said your flight was not likely to crash? The people paying the real price for this negligence aren't the corporate executives or FDA officials making these decisions. It's seniors on fixed incomes who can't afford dental emergencies. It's parents with kids in braces who trusted these brands to protect their children's teeth. It's working-class families who chose Sensodyne because they believed the marketing promises about sensitivity relief. For these consumers, a dental crisis isn't just painful, it's financially devastating. They're told to keep trusting products that have already failed them, while the companies responsible face nothing more than a polite recall notice and some bad publicity that most people will forget in a few weeks. But Sensodyne is just the beginning of this story. The rabbit hole goes much deeper, and the companies involved have been playing fast and loose with your health for years. Let's talk about Colgate, that familiar red and white tube you've probably seen in every bathroom, every store, and every commercial break since childhood. Colgate has built its empire on being everywhere, all the time. It's not about quality or safety. It's about market dominance through sheer ubiquity. When that massive FDA recall hit in May 2025, pulling 4.5 million tubes off shelves for manufacturing violations, Colgate was right there in the mix. But this isn't the first time Colgate has betrayed consumer trust. For years, their flagship product Colgate Total contained triclosan, an antibacterial chemical that was later banned from soaps due to links with hormone disruption. Did Colgate immediately remove this dangerous ingredient when scientists raised concerns? Of course not. They lobbied hard, spent millions on marketing campaigns calling triclosan clinically proven, and kept selling it to hiding consumers. Only after lawsuits piled up and global bans made it impossible to ignore did they quietly reformulate, leaving millions to wonder what they'd been putting in their mouths for decades. But here's the most insidious part of Colgate's strategy. They don't need to earn your trust. They just need to be the default option. Walk into any dollar store, any gas station, any food pantry, and there's Colgate. It's cheap, it's familiar, and for many low-income families, it's the only option they can afford. This creates a captive market of people who can't afford to shop around, can't afford boutique alternatives, and certainly can't afford the dental problems that come from using substandard products. When counterfeit Colgate tubes laced with antifreeze chemicals started showing up in discount stores, guess who suffered? Not the executives in their corporate towers, but the working families trying to stretch every dollar. And then there's Crest, the brand that was supposed to be the gold standard of dental care. For decades, Crest positioned itself as the dentist-recommended choice, the responsible option for families who cared about oral health. That reputation is now in ruins. In 2025, independent testing by Lead Safe Mama revealed a horrifying truth. Nearly 90% of toothpaste samples contain toxic heavy metals. We're talking about lead, arsenic, mercury, and cadmium. These aren't trace amounts or harmless additives. These are industrial poisons that accumulate in your body over time. Lead exposure is particularly devastating for children, causing irreversible brain damage, learning disabilities, and behavioral problems. There is no safe level of lead exposure, period. Yet here was Crest, a brand marketed heavily to families with children, containing measurable amounts of this neurotoxin. The May 2025 FDA recall of over 4.6 million tubes for factory violations was just the tip of the iceberg. Lawsuits started flying, accusing Crest's parent company Procter & Gamble of deliberately marketing candy-flavored fluoride-heavy pastes to children. The problem? Kids naturally swallow more toothpaste than adults, and high fluoride formulas designed for adult spitting can cause fluoride overdose in small bodies. But wait, it gets worse. Remember Crest's big push into charcoal-infused whitening pastes? They marketed these products as safe for enamel, a revolutionary way to get whiter teeth naturally. Dental experts had a different term for them: liquid sandpaper. Instead of gently whitening teeth, these charcoal pastes were literally wearing away tooth enamel, the protective coating that doesn't grow back once it's gone. Users found their teeth getting more yellow, not whiter, as the charcoal exposed the yellow dentin underneath. The irony would be funny if it wasn't so damaging to people's health and wallets. Now, you might be thinking, at least there are natural alternatives. What about Tom's of Maine? Unfortunately, I have bad news about your favorite natural brand, too. Tom's of Maine built its entire identity on being the wholesome, environmentally conscious alternative to big corporate toothpaste. Parents paid extra for Tom's products because they wanted to avoid the chemicals and additives in mainstream brands. They trusted that natural meant safer, especially for their children. That trust was shattered in 2025 when Lead Safe Mama found lead and arsenic in Tom's Kids' natural fluoride-free toothpaste in silly strawberry flavor. Yes, you read that correctly. The product specifically marketed to children as a fluoride-free, natural alternative contained heavy metals that are toxic to developing brains. A class action lawsuit filed in New York accused Tom's and its parent company of deceptive marketing practices. But the contamination wasn't the only problem. An FDA inspection of Tom's manufacturing facility in Sanford, Maine in late 2024 found bacteria in the water supply, including strains linked to lung infections and sepsis. Inspectors also discovered black mold-like substances and powder residue throughout the facility. Parents who thought they were protecting their kids by choosing the more expensive, natural option were actually buying contaminated products made in unsanitary conditions. The betrayal runs even deeper when you realize that Tom's of Maine isn't some small, independent company. It's owned by Colgate-Palmolive, the same multinational corporation with a long history of safety and environmental violations. The natural branding was nothing more than corporate greenwashing, a way to charge premium prices while cutting the same corners as their mainstream brands. The only difference was better marketing and higher profit margins. Let's talk about Arm Hammer, the brand that built its reputation on the wholesome image of baking soda. Surely a company that's been around since the 1800s, known for simple ingredients, would be different. In June 2025, independent testing revealed that Arm Hammer Enamel Defense Crisp Mint Fluoride toothpaste contained unsafe levels of lead, mercury, and arsenic. The company that marketed itself as the back-to-basics alternative was pumping out products contaminated with some of the most dangerous substances known to human health. Heavy metals don't announce their presence. You can't taste lead, you can't see mercury, and you won't feel arsenic slowly accumulating in your organs. These toxins work silently, building up over months and years of regular use. By the time symptoms appear, cognitive decline, kidney damage, bone toxicity. The damage is often permanent and irreversible. For families who chose Arm & Hammer as an affordable fallback, thinking they were at least getting simple, safe ingredients, this discovery was particularly cruel. Here was a brand that charged less than the premium options, marketed itself as straightforward and honest, and all along was potentially more dangerous than the products they were trying to avoid. And then there's Close-Up, the toothpaste that tried to make oral hygiene fun and youthful. With its bold flavors and flashy packaging, Close-Up positioned itself as the party brand, the choice for people who wanted their toothpaste to be as exciting as their lifestyle. But underneath all that marketing flash, independent lab tests in 2025 found Close-Up contained the same cocktail of heavy metals plaguing the entire industry: lead, arsenic, mercury, and cadmium. All the bright packaging and catchy commercials couldn't hide the fact that users were essentially lathering their teeth with slow poison twice a day. The consequences of heavy metal exposure aren't immediate or obvious. You don't brush your teeth with contaminated paste and immediately feel sick. Instead, these toxins accumulate gradually, causing memory problems, nerve damage, increased cancer risk, and a host of other health issues that might not be connected to toothpaste use until it's too late. For low-income families and seniors on fixed budgets, Close-Up's affordability made it an attractive choice. But the true cost, mounting medical bills from heavy metal poisoning, cognitive decline, organ damage, is paid by those least able to afford it, often years after they've unknowingly been exposed. So how did we get here? How did an entire industry that's supposed to promote health become a source of contamination and danger? The answer lies in a toxic combination of corporate greed, regulatory capture, and a system that prioritizes profits over public safety. These aren't small companies making honest mistakes. We're talking about billion-dollar corporations like Haleon, Colgate Palmolive, Procter & Gamble, and Church Dwight. They have the resources to ensure product safety, the technology to test for contamination, and the responsibility to protect consumers. Instead, they cut corners, hide behind legal disclaimers, and treat safety recalls as just another cost of doing business. The FDA's response has been consistently inadequate. Recalls happen after millions of contaminated tubes have already reached consumers. The language is always the same: not likely to cause harm, out of an abundance of caution. Voluntary recall in cooperation with the FDA. It's corporate speak designed to minimize liability and public concern, not to protect health. But there's another factor at play here: the psychology of consumer resignation. Brands like Colgate and Crest don't succeed because people love them or trust them completely. They succeed because they're everywhere. They're cheap, and switching seems like too much work. For many consumers, especially those with limited budgets or mobility, it's easier to keep buying what's familiar than to research alternatives or drive to specialty stores for boutique brands. This learned helplessness is exactly what allows these companies to get away with repeated failures. They know that even after recalls and scandals, most people will eventually go back to buying what's convenient. The most vulnerable populations bear the greatest burden. Seniors who grew up trusting these brands, parents stretching tight budgets to feed their families, working-class people who shop at dollar stores and gas stations. These are the people who suffer when corporate negligence meets regulatory failure. But here's the thing: you don't have to accept this system. You don't have to keep gambling with your family's health just because a product is familiar or cheap. There are alternatives, and I'm going to tell you exactly what they are and how to find them. First, let's talk about brands that have actually earned trust through transparency and consistent safety records. David's Natural Toothpaste is USDA certified organic with completely transparent sourcing. They publish third-party test results, use minimal ingredients, and have never been involved in a major safety recall. Yes, it costs more than Colgate, but when you factor in the potential medical costs of heavy metal poisoning, it's actually the economical choice. Dr. Bronner's All-One Toothpaste uses simple organic ingredients that you can actually pronounce. The company has a decades-long track record of ethical manufacturing and transparent practices. Their products are independently tested for purity, and they've never had contamination issues like the mainstream brands. Hello Sensitive offers clean, sulfate-free formulas without the major recalls plaguing other brands. They focus on simple ingredients and transparent labeling, and they've managed to stay out of the contamination scandals that have hit nearly every other major brand. But here's an alternative that might surprise you. Sometimes, the oldest solution is still the best. Plain baking soda mixed with water has been safely cleaning teeth for over a century. It's alkaline, which neutralizes acid-producing bacteria. It's mildly abrasive enough to remove plaque without damaging enamel, and it's impossible to contaminate with heavy metals or bacteria. Your great-grandparents probably used baking soda and had healthier teeth than many people today. It's not fancy, it doesn't come in exciting flavors, and you can't buy it with cartoon characters on the package. But it works, it's safe, and it costs pennies per use. Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds expensive and complicated. I don't have time to research every product I buy. But protecting your family doesn't have to break the bank or take over your life. Here's your practical action plan. First, read beyond the marketing claims. Don't trust words like natural, clinically proven, or dentist recommended without independent verification. These are marketing terms, not safety guarantees. Look for recent recall notices, lawsuit settlements, and independent lab testing results. Second, demand transparency from manufacturers. Contact companies directly and ask for proof of third-party testing, contamination screening, and quality control measures. If they can't or won't provide clear answers, that tells you everything you need to know about their priorities. Third, share information with friends and family, especially those most at risk. Seniors, parents with young children, and people on tight budgets are often the last to hear about safety issues and the most likely to be harmed by contaminated products. Fourth, support regulatory reform that requires more rigorous testing and transparency. The current system of voluntary recalls and industry self-regulation clearly isn't working. We need mandatory third-party testing, real penalties for contamination, and regulations that put public health before corporate profits. Finally, remember that your purchasing power is your voice. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of company and practices you want to support. When you choose safer alternatives, you're not just protecting your family. You're sending a message to the entire industry that cutting corners on safety is no longer acceptable. The toothpaste aisle used to be a symbol of everyday health and progress. Now it's become a minefield where trusted brands hide toxic secrets and regulatory agencies offer empty reassurances. The scandals of 2025 exposed not just the dangers lurking in familiar products, but the systemic failures that allow these dangers to persist. For millions of Americans, the cost of corporate negligence isn't just a bad taste in their mouth. It's a real risk to their health, their finances, and their faith in the products they depend on every day. But you have the power to break this cycle. You can choose products from companies that prioritize safety over profits, transparency over marketing, and long-term health over short-term convenience. You can demand better from manufacturers, regulators, and retailers. The question is, will you keep brushing with the illusion of safety, hoping that probably safe is good enough for your family, or will you take action now, before the next recall turns probably safe into a personal tragedy? Don't let big toothpaste gamble with your family's health while they count their billions. The power to protect your health starts with what you choose to put on your toothbrush, and the courage to demand better from those who profit from your trust. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden dangers in your bathroom cabinet, hit that like button and share it with someone you care about. Subscribe to Crisis Horizon for more investigations that expose the threats hiding in plain sight, because knowledge is your first line of defense against corporate negligence and regulatory failure. Your family's safety is worth more than convenience, and your health is worth more than someone else's profit margin. Make the choice to protect what matters most, starting today.